Does poetry render obsolete? What did it replace?
I think it renders, because of its maximum information with minimum syllables. So it renders a lot of language obsolete because it's so it has a kind of diamond quality.
Isn't that is great? So we can do more with less.
That's exactly.
That's Bucky all the way.
Yeah.
Bucky Fuller.
Yeah.
Okay, and Bucky also said a great line. He said, "All crew, no passengers."
Yeah.
That's what 99. Actually, Occupy movement switched and they dropped 99%, 1% last week. Somebody says, "No, we're all crew. How do we deal with the all crew? If some of the crew are fucking up or whatever, but there's no passengers." You know. Okay, third step is what does poetry bring back? And you can't say campfire.
Okay. Damn.
What does poetry bring back that we previously got rid of?
Candor.
Candor. What does that word mean?
Well, honesty.
That is, Ginsberg loved that.
Yeah.
He called poetry honesty.
Well, actually, because Whitman was the one who said candor, and then Ginsberg said candor ends paranoia.
Oh, that
so
is beautiful. Yeah. See, that's Ginsberg, not just being a Whitman clone.
Yeah.
Saying, how can I read that Whitman?
So he took it further because, of course, I think there was less paranoia.
Very good. That was good. And then if you press poetry to an extreme, what could it flip into?
The gaps between the words.
Very good. Miles Davis. That is good. Thank you.
Thank you. Makes me sound pretty smart.
Thank you, Mark. And so I wanted to do a through line before we bring up Eric. And that is, and actually ask Will a little bit on this, because Finnegan's Wake was Joyce's attempt to make us aware of what using words in a book do to us. We're not generally aware. We just read a book. And he was saying, no, you can pull yourself away a second and watch yourself reading a book and figure out what reading does to you. And he was doing this in Paris, and he was basically listening to shortwave radio in the 20s and writing it all down. And says, I don't need to make this up or be creative. It's all there. And he spawned McLuhan, who did a great thing. He says, you know, all these great writers, Mailer or Melville or whoever, Rachel Carson, they all were, how do I write the great American novel? Or like Kurt Cobain, how do I write the great American pop song? Feel like Teen Spirit, whatever you want to say. How do I do the great American video game? How do I make the great American drone? You know, why don't we use drones to protest drones? All my political friends hate drones. I go, no, drones have service and disservice. They don't want to even think that a drone has any service. So, McLuhan said, guess what? The great American novel is the front page of the newspaper. You know, the great American novel for us is when I pull up my email, I have to look at all this other stuff before I start going into my friends' messages. That is the great American novel. Martha Graham said, we're not ahead, great artists aren't ahead of their times, they are their times. So, that's what Finnegan's Wake is. It's language about language. It's right, just like poetry. It's language about language. So you can figure out what language is doing to you. It doesn't mean that books that make sense are nice and read and you're one-on-one are not. That's fine, they work. But how do we figure out deeply what reading does to us? So it's a form of media fast. Back to Duchamp. How do you make a piece of art that's not a piece of art? So you can figure out what art does to you. You know, Duchamp had the great one. He stole the Mona Lisa and did a Banksy on it and graffitied it and put a mustache on the Mona Lisa. So he stole another piece of intellectual property, put a mustache on it. Yeah, in art, you can get away with that. And they go, oh, that's a piece of art. And then 40 years later, he presented the Mona Lisa again, and he called it shaven, no mustache. Total rip of another person's art. Didn't have to do anything but do it with the title. So he changed art from being an eye trip to a head trip. You're still using your eye, but it's more dominant. The sense ratio shifting. Sense ratio shifting is what you want to study. So, that's what Finnegan's Wake is. How do you write a book that's not a book? So you can figure out. So, Cage did it well. 100 years of Cage. Wow. What a heavy dude. Everybody thinks he's a scam. Well, look at it. You sit at a piano. The hardest piece of music for him to ever write. This is 433. He says, this is the hardest piece. You sit at the piano for 4 minutes and 33 seconds, and you don't touch any keys on the piano. So people go, that's a scam. Well, you're going to be aware of the room's sound. So I'm going to be aware of silence. And so we'll do another round robin. A real simple question, just to examine this one Cagean thing. Will there ever be silence? No, we'll start with you and go from the back.
Will there ever be silence?
Will there ever be silence?
Well, that depends on has there ever been silence.
Thank you. Depends. We're going to get back to that because actually you answered the whole thing in one. Thank you. George, will there ever be silence?
As long as the dog next door is in the hospital.
Tom.
I think that the purpose of meditation is for silence, but I also wanted to say that Facebook's kind of like the Great American Novel.
That's really good. Will there ever be silence?
Yeah, I don't have anything to say.
Go ahead, Matt.
The Big Bang made noise.
That's good. Zappa asked Beefheart just before Zappa died. He goes, what's before the Big Bang? And Beefheart went, the big. Dan, will there ever be silence?
Not as long as someone's there to listen.
Very good, Ellen.
Jasmine.
Oh, I'm sorry. Jasmine. I'm sorry.
I mean, I think it's an ideal that lives in our heads more than an actuality.
So yeah, since we got the word silence, we got to have silence.
Yeah.
If we got a word for it, it's got to be there, right? Can we make up words for things that don't exist? Yeah, oh, that's interesting. Go ahead. Will there ever be silence?
No.
Thank you.
Yes.
That's it. Yes and a no. Yes.
I think at Cage, he went into like an anechoic chamber. And
we're going to talk about that. Tell them. Okay, an anechoic chamber. What is it?
It's just like a room acoustically designed to be dead silent, I guess. And he heard like a high pitch and a low pitch, and he asked the audiologist or whatever like what the pitches were, and he said the low one was his circulatory system, and the high one was the sound of the neurons firing in his brain.
That is so good. I heard that's well put because I heard it says he said it was his central nervous system working and his blood pumping. Yeah, so that was good. So that is to go back to not in yours. I'm gonna let's finish and then I'll get back to you too because will there ever be silence?
They're trying to like cool things down to absolute zero using lasers to take the energy off atoms and then make these things called Bose-Einstein condensates, which are like.
Wow, that is say that word a little slower and louder.
Bose-Einstein condensate.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Bose-Einstein.
What happens when matter is at absolute zero?
Right.
It's a different state of matter.
And you're saying
it has
that
no energy, so there's no vibration.
So you're saying that could be silence, or it is.
Yeah, it has no.
You're saying is
no
or can
vibration
be.
At all.
Is or can be silent.
So it's a limited silence.
Thank you. That was good.
Oh, I'll just be vague and I'll say yes in between the noise.
That's for me and Will. Our band's name vaguely. Thank you.